This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning everyone. So let's get started with the core topic which we have stopped. Yeah. So I'm starting my Ubuntu mission. So we have seen the installation process of the Docker engine, okay, which also called as Docker. Okay. Now this is my Docker mission where which I have already installed on Ubuntu. So if you want to see a lot more information of this Docker, like what specifications it have, what kind of information it has, so you can go for Docker info. Okay, so Docker info will give you a lot more information, not only related to the version of the Docker. It will tell you like how many containers you have created till now on this machine, how many are in that containers, how many they are running state, how many are paused, and how many are stop state. Okay, so how many images you have downloaded till now. Okay, what is the server version? What is it? 18.06, which is already displayed here. Okay, then storage driver. So storage driver in the sense If you want to store some data in the like disk or block, whatever it is, we need to have a file system, right? So in order to write a data into the hard disk, first file system need to be written properly. Like if you take Windows, it is NTFS. If you take a pen drive, you'll be using VFAT or whatever it is. Okay, so we'll be using certain file system for each and every device, block device, or whatever it is. Okay, so similar to that, for Docker, in order to write a data into the container or whatever it is, it will follow certain rules. That rules will come from storage drivers. So here we are using by default overlay 2. So we have so many things, overlay 2. Okay, we have BTRFS. So there are other things also. By default, this version is providing overlay 2. If you want, you can change it. In backend of this particular overlay 2, it is using a Linux file system called EXTFS file system, external file system. Background, the main Linux file system will be used. That is nothing but EXTFS. Okay, so logging driver, okay, C group driver, C groups. I'll tell you what is that. Okay, plugins, SWAM inactive. Okay, runtimes, and then we have init binary, and then we have init version. There are so many things. Kernel version. Kernel version is nothing but my Linux operating system kernel version. You can see here. Okay, so this is what I have. And operating system, okay, you can see this lsb underscore release hyphen v. So this is my operating system, okay, Ubuntu 16.0401 LTS version, okay, OS type Linux, okay, and then we have architecture like 64-bit operating system. CPUs I have only one as of now, CPU cores. Total memory it's like 1.954. If you look at this, I have totally 2 GB, which is nothing but 1.954. Okay, name is nothing but the host name of my server. Okay, and then Docker root directory, in the sense your entire Docker related information will be stored in varlib Docker. So if you look at this varlib Docker directory, you can see a lot more other directories which are available. Images will be stored in image directory. Containers will be stored in container directory. Container daemons will be stored in this particular directory. Okay, and overlay to drivers, plugins, runtime, swam, and then we have temp directory, trust, and volumes. Okay, so other directories you will understand when we come across that particular topic. As of now, we need to remember only few things which we want. Okay, but the ultimate goal is like entire Docker related information or Docker home directory is nothing but var lib Docker. Some people will call as Docker home directory, or some people will call as like directory related information where it is located. Then you need to say var lib Docker. That's it. Okay. So these are the things which will be displayed by your Docker info. At a time, if you want to see the entire information of your Docker, do for main parameters of your Docker, then you need to go for Docker info. Okay. Enough. So let us see the a bit architecture of your Docker. Cannot hear me. Hello.
Can hear you.
Okay. So now, okay. Now let us look into the architecture right now. Let me show you this. I don't. Okay. It's okay. Enough. Okay. So what is Docker? So now let's say I have a base machine. Okay. Let us assume this is my base machine. So here you have installed Docker. Okay, right? So okay. So here you have installed Docker, right? So this is my base machine, and here you have installed Docker. So this is my machine where I have installed Docker. Okay. Now what is this? Okay, you have installed. So how will you create a container? So container will be created on top of this. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. Now you are creating a containers here. Let us assume this. So we already have virtual machines, right? Previously, before this Docker came into picture, we used to have virtual machines which are created on a physical server. But the problem with the virtual machine is, let us say I have application running in virtual machine. So that application will take a fixed amount of memory. When you allocate some memory, whether you use or you don't use, it will allocate that amount of memory to your virtual machine. Okay. If it is not using, then unnecessarily you have allocated some RAM to the let us say one virtual machine. Other virtual machine need that particular RAM, which is not sufficient. They want more RAM. Okay, here it is overused, and here it is not even used. Okay, so this kind of conflicts will be created when you have virtual machines. Okay, so that is one thing we have, one drawback we have. And other thing is, like, in order to spin up a VM, at least it will take some amount of time to create it. Okay, it's not so easy to create, so it will take certain amount of time in order to create your virtual machines. Okay, and in order to run a single application, we need to have lot more other services which will be running in the background, which is not even useful for your application. Okay, let us say when you install your operating system, obviously it will have some kernel package. Okay, that kernel package requires some services running in the background. Okay, so you cannot stop those. If you stop those, your kernel doesn't work properly. If your kernel doesn't work properly, your operating system is like stopped. You cannot access your operating system. So these are like interlinked. You cannot do anything with though they are running in the background. So if for unnecessarily when your services are running in the background which are not useful for your application, obviously they are using certain amount of resources on your operating system, right? Like CPU, RAM, hard disk, and then memory, whatever it is. So they are using unnecessarily by your operating system, your base machine. So in order to overcome this also we are using Docker. So these are more other things which we have in a difference between virtual machine and why we are using a Docker. Okay, so these are the things which we have. Just a second. Okay. Now, what is container? So what advantages we have in container if I don't use VM? Okay, so let's say this is a container. Container doesn't have any operating system. It doesn't have any kernel. Why we need a kernel in operating system, whether it is Windows or whatever it is, it's some heart of your operating system. So why we need that? In order to communicate to the hardware, I as a human being am not capable enough in understanding the binary language. Okay, so that's the reason your operating system will convert, or it will take the information which is converted into binary language, and that it will give it to your hardware. Okay, it can be a CPU, it can be a RAM, it can be a memory, it can be a hard disk, whatever it is. Okay, just it will transfer the information to your respective hardware. Okay, that's why we are using operating system, and to run multiple tasks at a time in the background. Okay, there are other things which we have. So your container doesn't have any operating system, then how it will talk to the hardware, how your application will send the information, or how it will use a resource. So your container, let me write text here. Now, size. I don't know how to do this actually. Let's assume, okay, this is a container. Okay, so this container is talking to the Docker in the base machine. Okay, and then it will use the physical server's resources like CPU, RAM, memory, and whatever it is. Okay, so it will use the physical server resources. Okay, container doesn't have its own operating system. It will talk to the Docker, and Docker will allocate some resource. It fix them, like not fixed actually. It will allocate some amount of resource to the container, whatever it is required. Then if now the container requires more resource, like let us say I want to have 4 GB of RAM. Initially it is only 2 GB. Now my Docker has to use 4 GB of RAM. Then immediately your Docker will see if there is free amount of RAM in the base machine or not. If it is available, it will give it to your container, whichever it is requested. Okay, so that is dynamic. Okay, and if it is not required, it will decrease. Simple. Okay, it will increase and decrease according to the requirement. Okay, so that is how it works. So how much amount of RAM should be there for your container? Everything, this particular things will be taken care by your C groups. C groups is nothing but control groups. Control groups in the sense, let us say how much amount of RAM I can allocate to container, or how much amount of CPU, how much amount of storage, how much amount of what do we say, network should be allocated to your container. Everything will be taken care by your C groups, control groups. It will manage. Okay, if you say you allocate, we can also allocate fixed amount of RAM to my container also. I can do that. So what C group will do, it will ensure that if my container is not crossing more than that particular amount of memory which is allocated to my container. Okay, so that will be taken care by your C groups. Okay, and then there are so many containers which are talking to your physical machine, right? So every container should not have a data of the second container or the besiding container. Okay, because everybody is talking to the physical machine. They don't have any virtual resources allocated to the container. So those are like everybody is talking to the physical server. So everybody should have some space. Okay, some what do we say, channel which is allocated in such a way that no other data can be viewed by the respective containers. Let us say this container is talking to the physical server for a resource requirement and everything. It is transferring the data. So this data should not be visible to the respective container. Okay, so this will be achieved using namespaces. Namespaces. Okay, namespaces are nothing but isolating the resources. Resources like CPU, okay, RAM, okay, which is called as, there are 7 namespaces in the Linux operating system. Okay, so the 7 namespaces are nothing but, we have so many other things. Just I will write down few. Okay, network. We have for network, we have this network namespaces. Okay, and then for CPU we have, okay, then we have IPC and Internet Protocol Controller. Then we have some kernel. Okay, so we have different types of namespaces. Okay, everybody has its own capability. Network in the sense, it will take care only of networks. Okay, CPU in the sense, it will only look into CPU related namespaces, and then it will control that. So Docker will club all these functionalities together, which is called as wrapper. Okay, Docker will use this all these technologies together as a wrapper. Wrapper in the sense, bundled of functionalities. Okay, C groups, namespaces, okay, file system, Okay, we have also file system, right? Overlay to. Okay, so all these capabilities will be bundled together. These technologies will be bundled together as a wrapper. Okay, when you start creating a container, immediately this wrapper will come into picture, and then it will use C groups namespaces to allocate the required functionalities to your container. Okay, so this is what the Docker contains. Okay, so in order to create a container, we need to have an image. Okay, so how will you see that? So as I told you before, we have a Docker CLI. Okay, when you enter Docker commands, okay, so let us say here I entered a command. Okay, Docker CLI command will talk to the Docker daemon. Okay, so in order to see that, so here we can see that Docker service is running in the background. Okay, so this is your Docker service which is running in the background. Okay, if you stop this service, you cannot create your containers. Okay, so this service, so when I execute Docker, let us say hyphen version, okay, this will talk to the Docker daemon, and Docker daemon will use, it will check, okay, who is talking to him, and then it will transfer the information to the respective things, and then it will get the information, and then it will be displayed. Okay, so this is how it is running in the background. You can see the main process ID. The process ID is 2292. Okay. Use AUX 2292. So this is the actual process which is running in the background. Okay. User bin Docker. Okay. If you want to know from where you are running this Docker, where this library utility is present, this Docker utility, you can check with which Docker. So it is running from user bin Docker. So this is what we are running, right? Docker D is also present here. Okay. So all the binaries related to Docker are present under user bin. Okay. Now, so let's get started. So your Docker CLI, the command will talk to the Docker daemon, and daemon will pass information to the, like, it will use certain information in order to create a resource. Okay. Any questions? If my host is Windows and containers are Ubuntu, notice how the host kernel will be used. See, you cannot run containers on a cross-platform. Okay, it's platform dependent. Linux containers can be run only on Linux. Okay, Linux operating physical server, Linux physical server. Okay, Windows containers cannot be created on Linux operating system. Okay, so this is my Linux operating system, right? My base machine. Okay, I cannot create a Windows container. It is not possible. It is not supported.
But containers are independent of platform, right? So if we build
Independent
a
of platform, yeah. See, let's say if you try to pull an image of Windows and try to create a container here. See, today we'll be talking about container creation, right? Do one thing, try to pull a Windows container, so Windows image, and try to create a container here. It doesn't support according to the platform. Platform independent in the sense Docker can be installed on Linux, Windows, Mac OS. Okay, Docker package is not specific to one operating system. That is what they are trying to say. Docker containers is different and Docker is different.
Sudhams,
Yeah.
hello. My
Yeah.
question was, if uh, if I'm in the Windows operating system,
Mhm.
can I run a container um, which is a Ubuntu and
Mhm.
another container which is a CentOS? So my
Mhm.
host OS is Windows only.
Host OS is Windows. For
I,
that,
I just
there is a new functionality called hyphen platform. You need to specify a parameter called hyphen platform Linux. Okay,
okay.
that depends upon the physical Windows server you are using. Some Windows server don't support this kind of functionality. Okay, because if you
Uh,
see Now Windows 10 is supporting Ubuntu kind of functionality, right? You can have a terminal of Windows and then you can use as a Windows operating system. Do you know that?
No.
No, right? So actually Windows 10, they have given a terminal where you can run your Ubuntu related commands. It works as a Ubuntu.
Okay. Because
Okay.
my laptop is the Mac OS, but I'm able to
Okay.
run the Linux. I'm able to run the Ubuntu Dockers.
Yeah, of course. Your Mac is nothing but a Unix operating system. It's a
But I'm
Unix operating system.
and I'm also able to run the CentOS also.
Yes, obviously, it is both are Linux.
So you're saying that only the host OS should be Linux OS, so that you can
Yes,
run the containers of which is equivalent.
yes. You cannot run Windows. That is not at all possible. If you want, I will show you the experiment by the end of the class. Okay.
Okay. Okay. But how will this kernel will be reused?
See, I told you, right? Say kernel for CentOS and for Windows, what it will do, it will isolate. It will create a kernel namespace. Namespace in the sense, let us take one example, right? You're staying in a room. So we have a partitions, right? Hall, bedroom, or kitchen, whatever it is. Okay. So bedroom related things in the sense like you have one bed and everything. You cannot put your bed in the uh, like kitchen room or whatever it is, right? So it is isolated in the sense whatever the space you have, you are creating some partitions. Okay, so how many containers you have? For every container you will create a partition of kernel, CPU, memory and everything. Okay, based on the requirement, and the size will be increased based on the requirement of the container. You understood the logic, right?
Yeah,
You got it?
got it.
Yeah. So that's how it works. Simple example, if you take an apartment or staying room, so we have so many partitions, bedroom and kitchen and all. Okay, so this size is fixed as of now. This is like fixed size. If you want to increase, again you need to collapse the what do we say, one side of the wall, and then you need to increase the partition, right? So that's like, this will happen in Docker dynamically. Okay, so whatever the kernel space you have, the kernel space will be isolated, in the sense it will be created partition, and none of them can see the second container cannot see the data related to my first container because it is isolated. Okay, no one can enter into my namespace. That's how the security has been created in Docker. Nobody can see the information related to other containers until he is a root, until he is the main user in the host operating system. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, fine.
Sudham, I have
Yeah,
other question. So
yeah, you
difference
can.
between C groups and namespaces.
C groups are nothing but control groups. It will manage, it will control. Let us say namespace in the sense, let us say, okay, for example, namespace in the sense, creating, isolating the resources. You know what is isolation?
Yeah.
Isolation in the sense dividing. Okay, once it is divided, so that one person cannot see the information to the respective isolated namespace. Okay, that is done. Okay, so let us say I have isolated. After that, who will control this? See, my container should not cross more than 2 GB RAM of allocation. So who will control this? Namespace doesn't do that. It will just create a partition and then it will ensure that the data is not getting transferred from one cross platform. Like one container is not able to view the second container related information. That's it. But it doesn't control. Okay. To cross beyond this or to don't cross beyond this, everything it will not be controlled by your namespaces. So that's the reason C groups came into picture. C groups are nothing but control groups. Control groups in the sense, just a second. So control groups in the sense, it will ensure that your resources are not crossing with the allocated amount of resource. Let us say I allocated 2 GB of RAM to my container, it should not cross more than 2 GB. Who will take care of this? My C groups will take care of this. C group will ensure that it is not crossing beyond that. Is that fine? Control groups,
Okay.
controlling the resources. See, Docker cannot do all the things at a time, right? So that's the reason it will distribute the things to multiple backend functionalities. That is nothing but C groups, namespaces, and file system. Everybody will take care of those their respective jobs. So that is how it is done. So altogether it is called as wrapper. Okay. I hope this is clear. Any other questions? No? Fine. So that is all about your Docker and how it works in the background. Okay. So your Docker CLI, you're executing the command from the Docker REST API. It will transfer the information to the Docker daemon, and Docker daemon will take the information and it will give it to the backend resources. Okay, like wrapper or whatever it is. Okay. So now let's try to pull the images. Okay, how will you pull images? Where the images have been stored? By default, all the images are stored in Docker Hub. So Docker Hub will have the images. From there, we are trying to pull. Okay, we are trying to pull by default. So Docker Hub will have all the images which are available, and Docker team will validate that image whether it can be used or not, trusted or not, whether it is official image or not. So that you can search from the CLI also. Okay, so how will you search whether this image is available in the Docker Hub or not? Let us see. I want to search for Ubuntu image with 16.0, or let us say I want to search for CentOS 7 image. Okay, then what I will do? Docker search. Okay, CentOS colon 7. Let us 7 in the sense, I will show you what is 7. CentOS is the image name. Okay, colon 7 in the sense it is a tag. Tag in the sense you are trying to say, do you want to download a specific tag image? Okay, so here we can see, let me minimize this. Okay, so here we can see the name of the image, that is CentOS. Description they have written the official build of CentOS. Okay, how many stars in the sense the people have given a rating for this, they can use it or whatever it is. Official in the sense, okay, in the sense this is an official image. Okay, official image like everybody can download. It is downloaded by CentOS community, not by someone else. Okay, so that is how. So we have these many images which are having a 7 version with different type. Jenkins. Okay, we have Ansible. Okay, we have Gluster, OpenShift. So we have so many other things which we have CentOS 7 images with different implementations. Okay, if you want a base image, a core CentOS server with nothing installed, then we need to go for this first one. Okay, so how will you pull this image? So all these images are available in Docker Hub. We are downloading from that. By default, when you execute this command, it will talk to the Docker Hub. Okay, then it will show you the image whether it is available or not. Okay, let's say I will search for Docker. I have my own images. See, this images is mine. It is not official, right? Okay, I have not written any description in this. Okay, let's say like, so many people are named with some particular name, Teja or some whatever it is. Okay, let's say like,
So do we have to search with the username of the Docker Hub account?
yes, of course. See, here we
Okay.
have visual path, right? These are the images which we have, Docker demo or something, whatever it is. Okay, we have some account. Okay, if let us do one thing, if you want, you can create your Docker Hub account. Let us say, if you want to create an account, search for hub.docker.com. Here you can create an account. It is just simple. Within fraction of minutes you can create your account. Okay, once it is done you can sign up. Okay, you can push your images, so that is like later task. As of now, if you want to create an account, you can create in Docker Hub. It is just simple. Okay, so my Docker Hub account, I will show you how to do, how to log into that. So this is my account which I have this image. Okay, there are two pools. Okay, if I want to have another image, I will create a repository. Okay, so that is how it is present. If you want to see the details of this image, just click on details. Okay, so I have not written any description. If I would have written, it would have displayed over there, short description. Okay, so this is all about your images. Okay, as of now we are pulling the images from the official Docker Hub repository. Okay, so let's say how to download that images to your local machine. First of all, in order to create a container, we need to download the image to your local machine. Local machine in the sense where the Docker got installed. Okay, so how will you do that? So Docker execute a command. Docker pull. Let's say I want to pull Ubuntu 16 point or 14.04. My base machine is already 16.04, right? I just want to pull the image. You can see here. So pulling from this particular repository. Okay. So downloading. We have IDs. These are like generated. These are like already have every in image. I will tell you. I don't want to tell now itself. Okay. It is downloading the images. Okay. Of Ubuntu 14.04. It is a single image, but it has so many layers. I will tell you what is a layer. Okay. So completed. So how will you verify it, whether it where it is downloaded, where it is present? Okay. For if you don't know the CLI command, I'm showing you. So this is the image we have. Okay. So if you want to do, if you want to see from CLI, Docker images. Okay. This will show you a short image ID. Is this matching to this? Till here? Okay. So physically it is located here, but if you want to see from CLI, the command, not you see by looking at this, you cannot tell what is this image. Is it Ubuntu 14.04 or Ubuntu 16.04? What is it? You cannot tell, right? So that's the reason we are using a command. So command will extract the details of this particular image from the backend. So the repository is Ubuntu. My tag is 14.04. Image ID. Either you can use the name or ID. Created when it is created 12 days ago. Okay. Size is 188 MB. The size of image will be 2222 less. Okay. What is ISO? ISO will have like 4 GB, 4.5 GB, whatever it is, because it will have so many packages bundled in that particular ISO, and that will get installed on your physical server. And the operating system, once it is done, that service will be running in the background. But in containers and images, it will have only the minimum required libraries and binaries in order to run your application. Then what containers will have, images will have, if it is not having a kernel or operating system, it will have only libraries and binaries of that particular operating system in order to run your application. Okay. Doesn't have any operating system. It has only libraries and binaries, or we can write file system of the operating system to run your application. Okay, so this is how it has. It doesn't have any operating system. It has only a file system of the operating system. Operating system in the sense whichever image you are trying to download. If you are trying to download Ubuntu, it will have only Ubuntu related file system. If you are trying to download CentOS file system is different, right? It have yum commands and all. There are so many other binaries. Okay, what is a file system? This one, which is represented using forward slash. Okay, this is the file system, right? This is my physical machine, and my physical machine has these many files, directories, which is entirely called as file system. Bin, boot, dev, etc, home, and all. Similar directories will be downloaded from the for the image. Okay, so how will you see the image? Docker images. If you want to print only IDs, then -q. Okay, it will print only IDs, Docker images. Let's say, as I told you before, Docker image is nothing but a group of layers. Okay, if you want to see the layers of that particular image, okay, then we have a command called Docker history in the ID of the image, or you can give the name. Okay, these are the layers we have. How many layers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. Okay, 6 layers. These layers are nothing but read-only layers. You cannot modify these layers. We are using this image to create a container. So obviously you cannot change these particular layers, or you cannot change the data. Okay, so these are called as read-only layers. When you create a container, there will be a layer which will be created on top of it. Okay, just a second, I'll show you that. So this is how your CLI will be taking the information through REST API, and then it will give it to the Docker daemon in the backend. Well, what command you use, whatever the command you use, it is a CLI command. Okay, so then this is the differentiation. Yeah. So this is image. They have taken one example. This is Ubuntu 15.04 image. So how many layers it has? Totally 4. These layers are nothing but read-only layers. Okay, you cannot modify the content. Okay, when you create a container, it will create a layer on top of it. This layer will be linked to your image. Okay, this layer is nothing but read write layer. You can modify. That's the reason, right? We can log into the container, we can execute the commands, we can install the packages, everything we can do it because we have a permission to do that. So that's the reason it is called as read write layer. Thin in the sense size of the image. Sorry, can we get access to the document? Yeah, I'll give it to you. Management will give you this document. Okay, I'll share with them, they'll give it to you. So so this layer, okay, will be talking to, if it wants the image related information, then it will talk to the image and then it will get the information. Okay, when you do some installations, everything will be done on this particular layer. When you delete a container, this layer will be deleted, not image. Okay, and there are containers created on with this image, and if you delete the image, your containers will be crashed, but it doesn't allow to delete your image. It will give you a warning saying that there are so many containers running with this image. Okay, first we need to delete the containers and then we can go for the image deletion. Direct we cannot delete an image when there are multiple containers running. Okay, so these layers are nothing but read only layers. Okay, this container layer is nothing but read write layer. Okay, whenever you create a container using this image, it will create a layer. That layer will be connected to your image layer. Okay, so that's how it is present now.
So what is the difference between image and container?
See, container in the sense it's like server, right? Where we can install the package and run your application. See, if you want to create a container, see, let's say you have a physical server You want to install some particular database, whatever it is. What will you do? First, you will install an operating system. Without having operating system, you cannot run anything on the bare metal servers or whatever in your laptop. First of all, we need to install operating system, right? So similar to that, if you want to create a container, I need to have an image. Without having image, I cannot create a container. You can
Okay.
correlate that. You got it
So if
right.
we, yeah, if we have already a VM, right? So we have like the Ubuntu VM.
Hmm.
So why do we have to again install like the Docker image of
Ubuntu, we don't have it is not an IS4. See, if let us say, can I use this Ubuntu operating system to install another operating system? Let's say I have two virtual machines, I gave it to you, and one virtual machine you have installed operating system. So will you install the same operating system with this machine of VM only? Can you install other servers with operating system? No. It has certain things which we need to have to be installed. Okay, that you will get it from ISO. So ISO has certain installation procedures of the operating system. Okay, so your normal operating system cannot install other operating systems. Okay, your ISO will try to install that. Okay, because it should undergo some process. Okay, similar to that, if I want to create a container in the sense I want to run certain application, where will you run? Not on the physical server or a virtual machine. I want to run in a container. If you want to run in a container, first of all it should be created. If I want to create it, I need to have an image. Without having image, I cannot create a container in order to run certain applications. What container will have? Libraries and binaries, file systems which are required to run your application. The operating system related libraries and binaries will be present in that particular container. After the container got created, you will install whatever the packages you want. Apache web server, database server, okay, or Python or Ruby or whatever the languages you want, but it should be supported by your operating system. Okay, Linux, whatever the container you are creating. Okay, there are two different things which you're asking. Containers are different and image is different. Image is just a reference to create your container. Without having image, you cannot create a container.
Okay, so the
What
image
image
just
will have?
contains libraries and binary files to
Yeah,
create
a
a
lot of
container.
other things also. Yeah, if all the file system related to that particular operating system.
Okay.
Okay, as of now, remember this. So image has the file system related to that particular operating system. Operating system in the sense which are, uh, let us say Ubuntu image in the sense it will have only Ubuntu related libraries and binaries and the file system. Okay, if you say CentOS file system, CentOS image in the sense CentOS related file system will be present in that particular image. Okay, if you create a container using that, it will have only that particular file system. Ubuntu doesn't have CentOS related file system, right? Because Ubuntu has yum command, but CentOS have yum command. Ubuntu has aptf and get command. So both are different binaries. Okay, so that is how it is different. If you understand what is ISO and what is operating system, then you will get it. I hope I answered it. If not, you can get to me. Can you run two images in one container? No, it is not. See how you can use two operating systems in a single VM. You're saying like, can I use two ISOs for one particular VM? It is not possible. You'll use only one image. Using one image, you can create n number of containers. Okay, if I give an ISO CD to you, you can install on n number of n number of servers, right? If I give an ISO CD to you, you will insert the CD and you will install the operating system or Windows, whatever it is. the same CD you will insert to other servers also, and you will install your operating system. Okay, with single image you can create multiple containers, but with multiple images you cannot create a container.
So we are treating the image as an ISO file, container as a VM, something like that.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, now, so I have image right now, images. Okay, then if you want to see a lot more options for this, you can give help. Okay, help will give you what are the other options we have for after image. So we have seen what is queue. Filter in the sense if you want to print the output according to your format, like JSON format or whatever it is. Okay, all in the sense it will also print intermediate images like partially downloaded images and all. If you want to see that, we need to give -a all. Okay, so we don't have any partial images or okay, what are the images it is. Okay, now using this image I need to create a container. Okay, so in order to create a container we have these many commands: docker run. Okay, we have docker create. Okay, and then we have docker container create, container run, or we have docker container create. Okay, these many commands can be used. In older versions we used to have only these two commands. Okay, in new versions we have these commands. So they have segregated in the sense like they have divided the commands, container related commands under docker container. So they have just added it, that's it, nothing much difference. You can use any one of the four commands. Okay, so I'm using the older command. If you want you can use a new command, it is up to you. Okay, let's say I'm using docker run, just I will use the image. Okay, Ubuntu. Okay, Ubuntu, what is that? 14 point. I need to give the tag. If I don't give the tag, it will use a tag called latest. It will use latest. Okay, by default, if you don't give any tag, see what will happen. Okay, enter. So first it is, see, immediately it added a tag called latest. Obviously, Ubuntu with latest tag is not available, so it is downloading that particular image. See, unable to find image, Ubuntu colon latest locally. So then it is trying to pull the image from Docker Hub. So we need to be careful while giving the tag. Okay, you can see now Docker images. So now we have two images. One image is Ubuntu latest. We don't know what kind of version it is. Just we need to log in and see. What is the size of the image? 84 MB it is. If you look at this Ubuntu 14.04, it is 188 MB, which we have. Okay, so that's how. So if you want to download the images first, you can download using docker pull command. If you want to download the images while creating the container itself, then directly you can mention the image name. Okay, first it will search for the image locally. If it is not available, it will go to the Docker Hub and then it will pull. After that, it will create a container. So now we can see the container got created. Let's see ps command. It is not running in the background. So docker ps will show you only the running containers. If you want to see all the containers, then we need to give -a. You can see container got created, but it is status is exited. Means like it is terminated. Okay. So if you want to start it, docker start, give the container name or ID. Still it is exit status. Okay. So what we need to do is like the proper command is, so this is how we create a container. Okay. In order to create a proper container, let's say I want to use 14.04. I need to give -d. -d in the sense run the container in the background. Sorry, I forgot to give DTI. Okay, what is DTI? D in the sense create the container and throw this particular container in the background in the running state. Okay, don't log into the container immediately. Okay, If I don't give this hyphen D and if I give only hyphen TI, it will create a container and then you will directly enter into the container. If you let us see that. See, you logged into the container. This is container related file system. Okay, bin, boot, dev, etc, home, lib64, media, mnt and all. Okay, this is container. We are logged into the container. You can see the host name. You can see the IP address. What is IP address? It is 172.17.0.3. So this is your, I will tell you how you got this particular IP address. Okay, but this is a container. If you don't give hyphen D, if you give only TI, it will log into the container immediately. Okay, based on the command we have. So bin bash, in the sense, you will get a bash terminal immediately. That will be the first command which will be executed when you create a container. Okay. Okay, if I give D, it will. So how to exit from this container? We need to hold control button P and Q. Control PQ command will exit from the container in the running state. Okay, if you directly give exit command, it will stop your container. So docker ps. You can see we have these containers running in the background. Okay, so this is how it is created. Now, did you understood how to create a container? Okay, it is just as normal command I gave. Okay, docker run command. Similarly, you can use docker create, docker container create, or docker container run. Any one of the command to create a containers. Okay, so now we have logged into the container, right? Let us log into one. See, I came out of that particular container. I want to relog into this particular container. Then I need to copy docker attach and give the command. Okay, I logged into the container. Now I can see execute a command. Great. You can see it is contacting to the internet. I'm getting internet connectivity, everything. Okay. Okay. And I
So
can
to
install the package.
log into the container, it is docker attach.
Docker attach, and we have another command also. As of now, remember this docker attach command. Docker attach and the ID.
Okay.
ID, or you can give a name of the container.
So to
Okay.
create, just like we can use docker run.
Yeah, docker run. Docker run. You need to give hyphen DTI option, hyphen D space hyphen TI, or we can give hyphen D TI with the combination. Okay. D is nothing but run the daemon in the background, in the sense container daemon. T in the sense terminal, TTY. I in the sense interactive mode. Okay, interactive mode in the sense you will get an you can type the commands and you can install the packages. Okay, that's how it is created, and then I can install the packages also. Let's say like let's say like I can use say I'm installing Apache package. It's a one of the web server we have for Linux. How for Windows we have IIS, right? Similar to that, for Linux we have Apache web server, Nginx, okay, Tomcat. Tomcat is for Java applications. So this is like running. If I install Apache web server, if you want to see, it's not running, I'll start. It's running in the background. Okay. If I use curl localhost, my website will call command is not available. Okay. It's like it don't have minimum packages also. You need to install. That's the reason the size of the image is too less. Okay. So you need to install which are required. It is up to you. So that's how the image is like fully secure. Secured in the sense it's lightweight. You can see you got the image. If I give hyphen I, if you don't understand this, 200 okay in the sense your website is working fine. Okay, this is Apache web server. It's a website content actually, but you don't understand this. Okay. So simple, we can give curl hyphen capital I. Localhost in the sense it is the IP address which we have. It is binded to this one, this IP address. So this is how we need to run your container. Okay. See, I gave exit command. Immediately it stopped your container. It has stopped. You can see here. Just 9 seconds. Okay. So then don't give exit command. I'll tell you when to give exit command. Okay. So these are the basic things we have in order to create a container. Tomorrow I will show you how to run an application in the container and how to access it from the browser. Okay. Similar to that, I will show you what is a networking and all. So these two topics we'll be discussing tomorrow. Networking related information and then how to run an application in the container and how to access it from outside. In the sense from the browser. Okay. So these two things will be covered tomorrow.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Karthik. This is my first class.
Okay.
For any customization, do we require any programming knowledge?
No, it's not
Docker?
required. No, nothing. Customization by default we do from CLI, everything from CLI. Just you need to understand the architecture and functionality of your Docker. That's it. That's the only thing we need to concentrate in. It is not required to. Actually, this Docker is developed in Go language. Okay, so which is developed by Google. Okay, so it is not
So
required to learn Go language. Sorry.
we have any development kind of topics or any
No,
administration?
it's not about development. It's not about development.
Is it there or not?
No, we don't have. So this course is not about the development of your application. What do we say? Your Docker and all. Okay. Any other questions?
And how can we automate the tagging? Like if in a project like we have multiple images.
See, just we need to specify the tag. There is no other option for us, right? Definitely, we need to specify the tag. If you don't specify the tag, it will search for the latest. It will add a tag called latest, and then it will try to pull the image. So we need to be specific. We need to mention the tag. In
So
production also. Sorry.
can't we make it some sort of automated like thing? Like
What
as an example,
automated? I don't understand automated in this. So you are saying like instead of taking latest, I need to give specific parameter, right?
yeah, specific parameters. When we push the code into the Git bash or Git bucket, we like it will be the code will get some sort of tags, right? So this is a tag number or like same like that. Whenever we uh, bring the new image or we build a new image, can we automatically make a tag to that particular image instead of giving instead of taking a random values? So
It's not a random values. It's a predefined image which is already present with that particular tag. If you try to pull an image which is not present with the tag, it doesn't download. It's not a random number. You know, we have an image called we have a Ubuntu operating system called 14.04. That's the reason I gave a tag called 14.04.
okay, whenever we build a new image, we can give our own tags, right?
Not own tags. The tag should be available. Or if you were trying to create a new image, you can give your own tag.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm
Yeah,
creating a
yes,
new image, we can
obviously.
this can be used in like mostly like in my project we use for the testing purpose. So we don't want these images to be always available on the server. So what we do is like
If you want to rename this particular tag image name also, you can do it once it is downloaded. Okay.
okay,
Let us say you can take a clone of that particular image and you can rename it. Okay, and you can delete the main image.
so that what we do. Our testers have some sort of test suits, so it's not possible to have to run the same image for all sort of tests, like headerless or environment based, all the stuff. So what we did till now is like we just build a number of images based upon the
Hmm.
requirement, but our next goal is to um, not to have a multiple images. Whenever we need, based upon the environment, we build on the fly, and we need to delete that particular image once the tests are done. So if
Hmm.
that's the case,
This is
how can we
like, then you need to write a script. So this is all about writing the script. Then you need to give the tags there. See, if you don't
okay,
specify the tag, if it tags cannot be automated, that is for sure. Tags
okay,
cannot be automated. We need to specify the tag. Either it can be from the script side or it can be from CLI, whatever it is.
okay,
Image name and tag name is mandatory.
okay, got it.
Any other questions?
So once like the container is created and like we customize it, right? So like we install
Hmm.
all the services what we needed.
Yeah.
So do we again like can we
Yes. We can create an
create an
image
image?
using that container. Yes, we can do it.
Okay, are we so
We
like
can convert your container into image. That is one thing we have. And we can build our own image from Dockerfile. There are two methods. If you want to create some customized images, one method is like you can directly convert your Docker image into container, sorry, Docker file into image, or you can convert your container into image. Okay.
okay,
So
are
that
we going?
everybody can use the same image. So if, let us say you're a developer, right? So developer, you have built everything whatever it is required for the development. Okay, so you have done the setup in the container. So that container you will convert into image. So let us say there are 10 people new joinees in your team. Everybody wants the same container, they are not able to do it. Then what will you do? You will give that image, so everybody will create a container. Obviously whatever it is present in your container will be present in their system with the same functionalities. Okay,
Okay,
you
so
understood, right?
what is the what is the command for that?
I'll tell you. See, that is like we have not even entered into that. That's the
Okay,
reason. I just
okay,
told you theoretically that yes, it is possible, and these are the methods we have.
okay, okay, sure, no worries.
Any other queries or the topic that you don't understand or you're not able to get it? Just tell me so that I can repeat the topic. Don't come at the end of the course and tell me that you have not understood this. It's better we clarify here itself so that you can understand the next sessions. That would be like clear. Okay. I hope I answered all the questions. So let us meet tomorrow with the new topics called how the networking works in Docker and how we can what do you say, run an application in the container and then access from outside. Okay. So what we
Oh,
can do it.
hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello. Do we need any networking knowledge?
No, no, no. Just you need to understand basic things are required. You know what is IP address, gateway, and all, right? If at least if I speak in technically, what is IP address, what is gateway, and all.
Okay, okay. How much duration? This Docker and Kubernetes
The 45 days actually we expected, so that will be completed by 45 days.
project,
Within 45.
right?
Within 45.
You are, we have any project?
Yes, yes, yes. Real-time project. So real-time project is in the sense whatever we are using in the company, just I will try to I will show you the entire things what we are using. Okay, with examples. Okay,
Okay,
what functionalities we are using, what kind of technologies we are using, how we are achieving this, everything I will show you in practical. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. But we need to understand the concept. Nowadays in interview they are not asking fixed questions. Okay, so they are asking the scenarios. They are trying to ask the scenario and you need to be in a position to explain that scenario. How will you achieve that scenario? Let us say I want to run an application in this particular tech things. Then you need to say how you will do that. So that is what the interview procedure is going on right now in the market. It's not like what is Docker, what is network. So they don't ask these questions. That those days are gone. So now they are asking about scenarios. Okay. So that's the reason I am explaining the scenario based, not theoretically saying that this is what, this is what, this is what. Okay. We'll take a scenario and then we'll try to understand how to achieve that. Okay. Okay, guys. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time, and then we'll continue with the rest of the topics. Okay. See you. Bye.